Alright, so what you hear him is doing is, as he causes each string to vibrate, with his fingers in this case, he's causing the air around the strings to vibrate as well, and we can see the wave pattern that's produced by the sound. Now each string, if we shorten the string, you can see that the waves get closer together. We have a shorter wavelength. As he lengthens the string, we can see that the waves got further apart. We have a longer wavelength, which means a lower frequency. Fewer waves will pass through in a given second, so we can see that lower frequency there.
And so when I hit the drums with my stick, this drum head vibrates and it sends the sound through so you can hear it. Like I said, the higher the drum, here's what my wave patterns look like. Here's a small drum. Wave patterns are kind of close. Here's a bigger drum. A little bit wider apart. And here's the big daddy bass drum. Those waves are much wider apart. Now I want to show you my amplitude of the difference between the loudness and softness. Here's the softness. So that's my amplitude. So that's a little bit about the drums.
Galen's not the only percussive instrument up here, usually. We also have Pam, this time on keyboards.
But my waveforms look different when I hit different notes on the keyboard. If you were to see a real piano, you would see it looks like a big heart. Inside, I noticed you had a baby grand back there, and if you look inside of that, it looks like a big heart. And if I was a real strong person, I could just lift that out and just, be like a little angel or something that just pluck on the string. But anyway, since I can't do that, I have a simulated sound on the keyboard where there's sample. But if I were to hit a real high pitch, you will see that the waveform is different. If I were to sustain it, it'll give you a little bit of different waveform also. Now the lower I get, the further apart and longer they are. And the lower I get, you will see that they're even further apart and longer. Now they're really getting longer. And if I were to hit a chord,
a wind instrument, in this case a brass instrument, so let's turn it over to John on trumpet.
Sound in this case is going to begin with vibration. And the thing that vibrates on brass instruments like the trumpet is your lips. And the way this is done is by pushing air out of your lungs through pressed lips into the mouthpiece, into the horn that's amplified. So basically, you to start off, you form your mouth as if you're going to make the letter M sound. Right? So tighten the corner of your lips. And then you blow air through them, like this. Right? Excuse me. Work. Like faster. Okay? So the same thing is going on inside the mouthpiece, and the mouthpiece is built to focus it. So it sounds like this. Alright? And then the trumpet itself is built perfectly to amplify that sound. It sounds like this. You hear that pretty loud up front? Okay? And depending on how much air I blow through the horn and how tight or loose my lips are will determine the pitch that you hear. So if I were to have my lips very loose and blow less air, the pitch will be lower. If I tighten my lips up and blow more air, then the pitch will get higher and higher. And because the trumpet is so loud, I'm going to put this is a mute. And then you can see what type of wave lengths and amplitudes are created by the trumpet. So I'll start off low, blowing with loose lips, less air, then I'll get higher and higher and higher, and the wavelength should get shorter and shorter and shorter as I go up. Let's see if that holds true.
Check it out now.
Ooh, starting to look like a wall. Wow, you can't see anything. I think the dogs only heard that one.
Correct. That's a little bit about how sound is made on trumpet.
So James, is it true that animals can hear at different frequencies than humans can?
That's true. Our eardrums can only pick up certain frequencies of sound that we interpret as sounds that get sent to our brain. So animals can hear sounds that we cannot. That's how a dog whistle would work. It's at a higher frequency that humans just cannot hear, but dogs can. So we saw with all these instruments here that as they played higher notes, the waves became closer together. We had a shorter wavelength and a higher frequency. As they played lower notes, we saw that the waves got further apart. We had a lower frequency. And as they got louder, we had a higher amplitude. More energy was being measured in that sound wave. But we still have one instrument up here, and that is Linda as a vocalist. So as she sings, she's expelling air from her lungs, passing through her larynx, over her vocal cords, allowing them to vibrate, and then sending out the congressional waves to you.
Before the day, the midnight comes. Before the day, the midnight comes. Before the day, I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
And so what happens with the vocal cords is that while they're inside of your body, they're right here going like this. Now you need to know that your bodies vibrate just like everything else in the world. Your bodies vibrate, and the natural mechanism for your vibration is your breathing, okay? So know that sound can pass through you and you vibrate 24/7, okay? And your vocal cords move like this. In fact, the only instrument up here that can simulate the human voice is the wind instrument or brass instrument, which is why it's very difficult to sample wind and brass instruments, because there's no wind in the digital making process. All right? All right.
Well, wait a minute now. Don't you want me to check it out?
Oh yes, check this out. Put your hand right here. I want you to hum. Don't you feel yourself vibrating? 24/7, y'all. 24/7.
What we're going to demonstrate here is a property of sound called interference. You usually think of interference as a bad thing. Like when you turn on the radio, you get some interference on that.
Breaker 19. Breaker 19. 10-4.
Something like that. Either the static or the truck radio. But for musicians, interference is a great thing. It's a good thing because as two musicians play, or even more musicians play, they're producing sounds at the same frequency. Those sound waves, those compressional waves can interfere with each other. You can get louder sounds. So as they're playing, I'm going to put a model up here on the screen of the waves of sound interfering with each other.
Now here I come. There I am, right there. Here comes Avery.
Their own compressional waves. But when these waves existed in the same space, they would interfere with each other, and they could get higher and lower. There would be a greater amplitude, and we could produce louder sounds than each musician could on their own. So this type of interference here, where you have two waves that are perfectly lined up, perfectly in sync, where we have amplification, a louder sound. This is called constructive interference. You construct a louder sound. But you can also have two waves that are exactly out of sync, where the crest of one wave lines up with the trough of the other, and they will cancel each other out.